If you've been wondering if the NASM-CPT is right for you, I'm going to help you answer that question in this video. I'm going to give you some unbiased insight into the different certifications and give you the right questions to be asking to make sure you're signing up for the right course. First off, who am I to give you insight and direction into what certification is right for you? If this is the first video that you're joining me in, my name's Coach Joe Drake. I'm the CEO and the founder of the Axiom Fitness Academy. And I'll say it up front, we teach the NASM certification, and I'll get further into why we've settled on that course, but that's not the only course that I've taught. We've helped well over 650 students go through our certification and get certified, but prior to that, I worked in the university setting teaching personal training courses where we taught the ACE curriculum. I also worked very closely with another organization, we'll talk about, the NSCA, and taught their personal training courses as well. So I've got a lot of experience looking at the insides of these different courses and certifications. And truthfully, guys, it's one of the reasons why I got so many certifications when I got started. ACE, ACSM, NSCA, all the letters, because I just wanted to know what's the difference between those. And so today I want to give you guys unbiased insight because I just want to make sure you guys are making the right choice. NASM is going to be right for some of you. It's not going to be right for some of you. And I want to make sure you get on the right path because hopefully that means you're going to go on and train more people. So the first thing I want to point out for you guys as you get into understanding, because I would imagine you're watching this video because you're doing some research on personal training certifications and all the things that are out there. There's so many letters. There are literally hundreds of certifications. My first piece of advice in this video, if you take nothing else away, is if you're going to sign up for a certification, do one of the acronyms on this board. And that's because I've spent a lot of time doing research, getting inside the curriculum, working and talking with employers and hiring partners. And these are probably not just inside the US, but maybe even outside of the US, some of the most well-known certifications and some of the most well-respected certifications in the country. All right, so take it or leave it. I promise you, you can look at all the lists. These are the ones you're gonna find on there. Then it gets down into like, well, how do I choose which one? And there are a lot of good questions that you need to ask yourself, some of which we're gonna go through on the other side of the board. But I do wanna point out, all of them do generally lead to the same end goal, which is being able to train generally healthy clients, general population. The differences tend to be maybe in how they talk about it, or the reputation the organization has, or how deep they go on certain concepts. I'm sure this is probably not the first video you've watched on the NASM. You've heard it's a hard certification, and it is. But that may be a benefit for you guys. So I'm not gonna go through in detail every certification on here, but just know each of them do have their own reputations. ACE, more general population personal training. ACSM, if you want to get more into the medical world, right, working in a hospital setting, that's going to be a great certification to look further into. Maybe you want to work with athletes, especially in like a collegiate setting, high performance setting. Well, guess what? NSCA is going to be probably one of the more well-known names. Maybe you want to work with a wide variety, wide general population, but you also want to have some pretty good insight and a lot of experience with injuries, working around mobility restrictions. Well, you're not going to find much better than the NASM. And then ISSA and NCSF both have strong footings in the bodybuilding, in the physique world. So maybe you want to go on and train physique athletes. Those would be great organizations to look into. But what I'm going to go into is some of the most important questions so you choose the right one. And I say the right one for you because I know a lot of coaches and trainers, they got certified by different organizations and they ended up being great coaches and trainers because of their path. So first off, what do your employers or maybe your desired place of employment require? Especially if you're just getting started, we find most people succeed best working with and for someone else. And so the best place to start is go talk to them. Go find a hiring manager and say, hey, what are the requirements or what are your preferred? That's the way I would ask it. What's your preferred certification? Like if you see this on someone's resume, you're like, boom, let's move them to the top of the stack. Because if you're getting started, you need that type of help. And that's gonna be a great place to start. You're gonna find the ones that were on the board over there are generally gonna be the requirements. Now, this might also have a big impact on what I call your upward mobility inside of an organization, right? Let's say you want to work in a higher echelon club like an Equinox, like a Lifetime. Well, there's certain certifications they may or may not take, right? Based on who you go to and the requirements there, they may or may not take an NCSF or an ISSA. They might require an NSCA or an NASM because of the level of respect that some of those certifications come in with. But either way, best place to start, where do you want to work? And just go see, right? Because you might also be watching this video from a different country. And although certification is regulated the same throughout different states in the US, different countries, different regions throughout the world operate in slightly different ways. Many of them are still certification based, but this would be the best place to start. It's also one of the reasons why we settled on working with NASM, because they are widely known in the international world. And if you want to go to different countries and still be able to use your certification, it's a great place to be. The next piece would be, what's your desired niche? You don't have to niche down to only working with elite athletes right away, because you probably can't anyways. It is a good thing to think about. Where do I want to go with this? Do I want to work with generally, healthy population, the average person? Well then, specifically going into certain ones may or may not be more beneficial. Like, you may not get as much out of going into the NSCA certification if you're working with a certain group. But if you want to work with athletes, it's a great place to be. So that's another one to think about. What's the desired niche, and how is that going to help me in that world? Is it going to give me more information that allows me to train clients more confidently, or is it also going to be a little bit more respected in that world? Because you'll definitely find that with some of these certifications. Another one for you guys to ask, and this is one that I don't think a lot of people think about, is once I'm certified, what are some of the benefits I get from being certified by this organization? And this is one that took me a little while to figure out myself, because when I went through college, I got certified as an ACSM, Certified Exercise Physiologist, very well respected. But personally, I found pretty quickly that I didn't really get any benefit from being certified by ACSM, meaning they weren't sending me information. There was not a lot in regards to ongoing growth and education that I was gaining from that organization. And so that's something that, based upon what you're looking for, now that I've been doing it a long time, that is something I look at. It's like, what is this going to add to me? Not just what am I learning now, but how am I going to grow with this organization? Other organizations that may do more, like, do they hold a national conference? Are there additional higher level certifications that I can go on with? And you'll find with organizations like ISSA, NASM especially, there's a lot of opportunities once you get through that CPT to say, hey, I want to learn more about nutrition, or I want to go further into physique and bodybuilding, or I want to go more corrective exercise or performance. And so that might be the other thing you're looking at, is like, okay, Joe already told me, they all kind of allow me to do the same thing initially, but does it lead to something more? Is there growth and mentorship and training that comes beyond that? Because that's huge and valuable if you want to stay in this long term. So what are the benefits of the organization? And this may take a little bit of you digging in, right? You got to do a little research, like watching this video, to find out. And then, is it a respected certification? Meaning, in the world, in the circle that I want to be working in, is it seen as kind of the premier or preferred? And I mentioned this earlier on the other side. We run and teach NASM-CPT certification courses, 10 weeks, we run live classes. We put a lot of effort and energy into teaching NASM, mainly because I taught for ACE, I taught the NSCA, and again, they're all great. They all teach you about the human body, and I know a lot of magic in what we do is like the actual teaching of training. But I know that NASM, generally no matter where you go, you come in with an NASM certification, and most people are like, oh, not bad, that's pretty good. Mostly because they know the certification is tough. They go super in-depth and detailed on a lot of information that's challenging to learn. And so as you are doing this research, that's something to think about. Like, does that matter? And maybe you're in a setting where it doesn't. Maybe you're trying to get an entry-level job at an LA Fitness where they're just looking for anything. They're looking for a piece of paper. If so, then going the route with us or going to NASM is probably not right for you. It might be too much, right? Because you're just trying to get some experience and get into that entry-level place versus thinking a different way. So I don't honestly think there's a right or wrong. I think a lot of what you do in that first year or two is going to be also what makes you a great trainer, but how you start definitely has a big impact. So as you are looking at the NASM or any of the other organizations to figure out if they're right for me, make sure you're looking at, is it going to allow me to work where I want to work? Does it fulfill the desired niche, the people that I want to be working with? Are there benefits of being certified by this organization? And also, is this the level of respect I'm looking for in a certification? We could keep going on the breakdown and the differences between all the organizations, but I know you clicked on this video because you're probably doing some research on NASM specifically, and I want to give you guys some reality about getting into the NASM certification. Like I mentioned earlier in the video, we've helped well over 650 people in our courses, not to mention thousands of people like you out here on YouTube to go through it. And it may not be right for everyone, but for the people it's right for, it's a great path to go on. So I want to talk specifically about the NASM certification, the National Academy of Sports Medicine. First off, whether or not you know it, NASM was born from the mind of the physical therapy world. It's one of the reasons that they go a lot deeper on things like the neurological system, why it may be more challenging, and that can be a great thing for those who want to understand how the body moves. I can tell you from teaching from some of the organizations, they go a little bit deeper on this area. And I say that because a lot of people come in as they're looking to get started and like, Joe, is it easy? And my answer is definitely no, it is not. And truthfully, it's one of the reasons that we settled on teaching this certification specifically. I like the fact that it is a rigorous process. And it's not because I don't want more people to get into training. I want lots of people to get into training. It's why I make these videos. But what I want is I want the barrier to be worth it for people. I want them to really have to learn a lot of information and the things that matter. Because I think a lot of people get into training thinking like, cool, I just gotta teach people how to squat, do some exercises, and that's a piece of it. But like, we're working with the human body. And so you really gotta have a higher level of understanding. So I wanna say it for you now, before you go sign up for anything, it is not gonna be an easy certification. But that doesn't mean you shouldn't do it. You might be watching the videos with me, because this is kind of my thing and the way we talk about training, because you wanna do things the right way. Like, you really wanna take care of people. You wanna help them change their lives, change their bodies, change their minds. And you having a much higher level understanding of how this thing works is gonna help you do it. So it's the absolute #1 reason why we teach the NASM certification, because it is a challenging exam. You'll find less than 75 to 65% of people pass the certification every year. What you won't find is less than 30% ever go take the exam, because it's tough. I don't want to scare you away from it, but I want you to know this is challenging stuff, but you don't have to do it alone. So, is it easy? The answer is no. Is it respected? Absolutely, absolutely. You might have found this video from doing even a Google search on like which certification is best, or is the NASM-CPT good? All the different permutations of it. Well, you'll find across all these lists, you will find the NASM in the top 2 or 3 of every list you find. And if you look at the websites where you don't find it #1, it's probably because they're selling another certification. I just want to point that out for you, right? I did a lot of research before doing this video for you guys, and that is the #1 thing you'll find, is it's always going to be in those top couple certifications, because it's challenging, it's well respected. NASM over the last number of decades has done a great job of building their brand around the world. And for me as a coach and trainer, I want that. Although my clients may not know the difference between NASM and ISSA and any other letters, employers do and I do. And so it absolutely is probably one of the most well-respected certifications, not just in the US, but internationally based on where you go as well. So to me, that helps out a lot in the long term and putting you in a good place. Outside of that, is it fast? Well, honestly, you can probably guess if it's not easy, it's not fast. Very few people, and I'll put it out there, maybe you might find some other YouTube videos out here from people saying, hey, pass the certification in 7 days. It ain't happening. It's not happening. And if somehow you happen to be the 3% of people who do it in 7 days, what are you really getting out of it? What did you learn, right? I think that's really what I want to think about. Like, what's your long-term goal with training? If you're doing the research on this video, I already know you're a thoughtful person. And so if you're thinking about, what do I want to be doing 12 months from now? And I would rather go through a program that takes me, and I'm going to tell you guys, this is going to take you somewhere probably between 10 to 24 weeks based upon the person. We teach this course in around 10 weeks. Most of our students are passing the certification in 12 to 14 with time to study. But that's an accelerated guided process. That's not people doing it on their own. You'll find a lot of people, because it's challenging and they may or may not have great study skills, this is going to be somewhere between a 3 to 6 month process. And I think that's actually, again, a good thing, because it means you're going to have to really take your time, learn the information, not just memorize some facts, but understand how to apply it. All right, so it is not generally a fast certification. That being said, if you've got a job waiting for you in 2 weeks and you're just looking to get something overnight, NASM's not right for you, right? There may be other things out there, not that I'm going to recommend them or that I even know about them, but NASM is going to take you some time, all right? So just know that. Take that to the bank. And then the last one, with all these other things, like, Joe, is it achievable for me? Like, you already said it's hard, like it's really well respected. Sounds to me like the exam's tough. I'm already getting stressed out and I haven't even signed up yet. All right, so I do want to say, yes, it's absolutely achievable. I know, because we've seen so many people do it, not only with all the free stuff that we have out there. I'm getting messages every single day, literally every day, from people like you guys that are passing the certification, and I love that. So my answer for you is it's absolutely achievable. There's probably nothing inherently better, smarter, different, special, or more special about these other people doing it, but a lot of it does come down to the plan that you have. So inside this video, guys, I wanted to give you just a lot of insight into certification in general. I want to give you some insight into why I think the NASM-CPT is a great certification, but I also want to let you guys know you don't have to do it alone. If you have interest in the NASM certification and you want to get some more information on how we help people go through this process, learn it at a much deeper level, have a lot more fun, studying everything as well, then make sure you guys check out the link below to either book a call directly with me, and yes, the call will be with me to talk more about this, to help you make sure you're making the right decision, or to get some more information directly on our courses.